Hey everybody, good afternoon on this Saturday. What is going on? Having some fun with college football right now. But obviously, if you're on this channel, your mind is probably on tomorrow and Sundays in general with the Seattle Seahawks. Now, as you guys probably have figured out by now, there's just not going to be a Pass Rush Friday this week because Pro Football Reference, they haven't put out most of the data, and there's not much I can do about that. I don't know what's going on, but there's such a small amount of pass rush data out there that I can't do anything with it. I can tell you right now that in terms of what I've seen as of this morning, they have like 4 pressures for the Seahawks, and none of them come from any of the edge rushers or any of the defensive linemen. And there's no way that's true. Whatever bad you think of the Seahawks pass defense, or pass rush, I guess I should say, last week, it certainly wasn't so bad that no edge rushers and no defensive linemen got any pressures. So I'm just going to go ahead and punt on it for this week, and then hopefully next week they get the numbers out. But I do want to talk about the pass rush a little bit, because this is one element of last week's game that I think has thrown some people off. I think that this is one thing that people are having disagreements with that are a little bit hard to sort out. How good was the pass rush last week for the Seahawks against the 49ers? And I want to dig a little bit deeper than just the typical numbers to try to figure that out. Please click the thumbs up button on this video, subscribe if you're new, click the bell for notifications, become a channel member for $2 a month. Those are the best ways to support the channel. So StatAccount has posted some more data here that I think is really, really good, and also going to be very, very illuminating as we try to figure it out. So what we have here is a chart, XY axis, and I'm going to go ahead and zoom on it now. The X axis is double team rate combined with a chip percentage. So it basically looks at every single edge rusher in the NFL that played a minimum number of snaps. I'm not sure what that minimum is, but basically every edge rusher that got a reasonable number of pass rush snaps in, and then it calculates what percentage of the time was that player either double teamed or chipped. Basically, the guy blocking him got help. And then you have the y-axis, which is just straight up pass rush win rate. And the reason why I want to look at this to start is because I know that one thing that a lot of people are hanging their hat on right now with the Seahawks is they had a very high pressure rate last week when they played the 49ers. I believe it was something like 40%, which was either the highest or nearly the highest in the league. And yet they only got 1 sack, and yet they allowed Brock Purdy to throw for 270 yards. And yet, when they really needed pressure to end the game at the end there, they couldn't do it, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. So I think that there is a definite sense that maybe the pass rush was better than we thought, but I don't know if it was good. So let's start with a few things here. And you could say we're kind of starting with the positive here. So this chart, I want to focus in on the 3 Seahawks. First, Derek Hall. And I want to say this. Something's going on with Derek Hall here that's beyond even my perception, because he was one of the most doubled edge rushers in the entire NFL this week. He was doubled almost 60% of the time overall. Before we go any further, I want to tell you a little bit about my friends over at Sleeper. If you're not using the Sleeper app for daily fantasy football this year, you are missing out. Let's get some picks in for the week. Take a look over on the left side of your screen. Look at all this great stuff you can do over on Sleeper right now. My picks go as such. I got Jalen Hurts going over 41.5 rushing yards. I don't think Philly really trusts their passing attack right now. I think that Jalen Hurts is going to scramble a lot. I think there are going to be a lot of designed runs for him. I got JSN going over 65.5 receiving yards. Our boy. Who else are we really going to throw to right now? Clearly, we don't trust anybody else that much. And I have Travis Etienne going over 55.5 rushing yards on the Bengals. He's feeling it right now. Remember, the Sleeper app, use the promo code SBN to get a $100 match on your first deposit. Terms and conditions apply. See Sleeper's terms of use for details. Currently operational in over 25 states. check out the Sleeper app today. So that's very good. Boye Mafe, he was doubled at a slightly above average rate, which is about 38%, which is right in line with the average. The average is about 37 for this first week, right? And both of those players had an above average, and in Mafe's case, actually very good pass rush win percentage. So both those guys are getting doubled at least an above average rate, and they're generating pass rush wins at least an above average rate. Now, DeMarcus Lawrence, you can find him down here. So he's got about an average double team rate of about 37, 38, and he's got a pass rush win rate well below the average at about 8% approximately, if I had to try to judge that. So that's not very good, but keep in mind, DeMarcus Lawrence's best skill is his ability to play the run. In many ways with Lawrence, what he can do as a pass rusher is kind of a bonus. He's going to be on the field for more run defense snaps anyway, so I wouldn't worry too much about that. The point I'm trying to make here, Boye Mafe and Derek Hall, in terms of this particular metric, do quite well. And if we put all this in chart form, if we put all this into the chart here that takes data from PFF and Next Gen Stats, you'll see Derek Hall is in the top 10 or top 8 actually for double plus chip rate. He is getting doubled or chipped almost 58% of the time. There are only a handful of players in this league that can say the same about their week one. And look at some of the guys he's with, right? Now, some of them are not huge names, but you've got Myles Garrett, you've got Aiden Hutchinson, you've got Micah Parsons. By the way, very interesting, the Seahawks decided to double or chip Michael Williams constantly in that game. By the way, it worked. He didn't get any pressure at all the entire game. So I guess we mission accomplished. But the point I'm trying to make here is that he did a good job drawing double teams, Derek Hall, and he also did a pretty good job generating pass rush wins. Now, unfortunately, Derek Hall did not do a great job converting his wins into pressures. His pressure rate was 5.6, which, as you can see, if you compare it to other players on this list, even closer to the bottom, it's not great. 5.6 is not very good. But if you go to Next Gen Stats, and here's the thing I really want to zoom in on. Next Gen Stats, his pressure rate is high, about 20%. There are only a handful of players on this list higher. That's about the same as Myles Garrett. It's not as good as Dorrance Armstrong was, but Dorrance Armstrong is playing that Giants offensive line, so it's a little bit easy mode. A couple other guys are ahead of him, but 20% pressure rate from Next Gen Stats is very good. However, quick pressure is 5%, which is still not terrible. You can see that a lot of players here didn't have any quick pressures. And quick pressure, by the way, is, I think, 2.5 seconds or less. But 5% is still not really anything to get excited about. It's kind of lost in the sauce with some of these other players here. It's probably, if you were to put it all into a list sorted by quick pressure rate, it would be near the middle, maybe even a little bit lower than that. Now, we don't have the same quick pressure rate on Boye Mafe because I don't have access to Next Gen Stats numbers. But I would be willing to guess, based on watching that game, Boye Mafe's quick pressure rate would be very low, probably lower than 5%. His pressure percentage, however, overall, would be pretty good. So do you kind of see what I'm getting at here, what I'm trying to indicate here? This is kind of the seed of the problem. And by the way, if you look at the same data for defensive tackles here, he puts together the same chart for defensive tackles, and you can see some encouraging stuff. Jarran Reed was the second most doubled or chipped interior lineman in football last week, 94%. He is getting doubled almost every time he rushes the quarterback. And by the way, much lower, but we also had Byron Murphy and we had Leonard Williams on this list as well. So these guys are drawing defensive attention in a big way. So whatever you want to say, that is pretty good. That is pretty cool. Now, pressure rate, it's a mix, right? Jarran Reed, his pressure rate of 13.3, despite getting doubled this much, is actually pretty remarkable. By the way, that's despite a win percentage that is actually kind of low, 6.7%. So the pressure rate with Reed is actually quite good, but he's not necessarily winning a lot. Leonard Williams, 9.4% on both sides, which is okay, decent, reasonable percentage. Murphy, 9.4% as well, but a 15.6% win rate. So those numbers, they're not the best in the league, but they do look pretty good. However, let's go to next gen stats. Again, this is where things kind of bear out a little bit. Next gen stats will tell us Jarran Reed's pressure percentage was pretty good at 14.3. Only a couple players on this list are better, so we like that, but none of the pressures were quick. All right. Leonard Williams had a, 9.7 pressure percentage, which is okay, I guess. I'm not crazy excited about it, but his quick pressure percentage was 3.2. So, again, for interior defensive linemen, you look at this, quick pressures don't happen very often, but still, 3.2% is not remarkably standing out. And then Byron Murphy, his pressure rate, 9.4%. All right, I can take that from a second-year player playing out of position for sure. But again, if I move my head here, 0% quick. And I'm not knocking him for that. You can see it's very hard for interior defensive linemen to get quick pressures. But the point I'm trying to make here is that you look at the Seahawks listed here, you don't see a lot of quick pressures. You're seeing a very low percentage of our pressures being delivered in the first 2.5 seconds. And don't get me wrong, we can join the club to a certain extent. Like, look at Micah Parsons. He had a 0% quick pressure rate week 1. The Packers are in a similar spot. Rashawn Gary, no quick pressures. Van Ness, he had 1, but that's it for them. So it's not like this is some remarkable standout thing here. I'm not saying that we're the only team with this problem, but this is kind of the crux of the argument that people have when they say that our pressures were not particularly impactful. It felt like we were getting pressure at the end of plays when Purdy had already had the opportunity to go through his progression and find his target. It felt like our pressures were not impacting the game the same way other pressures are. And just to kind of reinforce that point, Next Gen Stats, I think it was Next Gen Stats, had Brock Purdy with the 4th highest time to throw in week 1 of any quarterback. And think of somebody like a Jalen Hurts who runs around back there like crazy behind a great offensive line. He's almost always going to be number 1 in time to throw. So you can almost remove him from the board because he's playing a different sport, it seems like. So not even thinking about Jalen Hurts, you take him off the board. Brock Purdy moves up to 3rd. So despite the high pressure rate, he didn't seem all that bothered by it because it's not like he was holding onto the ball for a long time and then throwing it into the dirt. He was completing passes. It wasn't a perfect game, maybe not even a great game, but he did the things that he needed to do and ultimately won the game. So I don't know. I'm looking at this, and I think that late pressure and soft pressure is still valuable. I'd rather have that than having a quarterback just getting to stand in the pocket and throw a tea party. But yeah, I'm having a hard time looking at all this data and saying that our pass rush is doing everything they need to do. Again, it would be nice if we had quick pressure data on Mafe, but I would expect it to be around 5% or less. I would be very surprised if he got credited with quick pressure in that game. So let me know what you guys think down below, but I think this is the issue. There is pressure, but it just wasn't impactful enough. And again, if this data didn't convince you, I want to remind you, Brock Purdy had the 4th longest time to throw of any quarterback in the league last week out of 32. Actually, I guess it'd be a little bit more, but call it 32. We're close enough. I will say that some of the credit goes to Brock Purdy for that. He is elusive, he is slippery, and he's hard to deal with in the pocket because of those things. That is something that he is legitimately very good at, but this is the issue. This is the issue with this pass rush. They can win, and they win fast enough to be truly impactful. All right, I'll see you guys later. Go Hawks. Let me know what you guys think, and enjoy football today.